Anand and he's a professor at the Department of Industrial Design at School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. It's a premier institute of design and architecture. And now, of course, there are many more SPAs in the country, but this is the original one. And Parag is originally from Maharashtra, but he also studied in Gujarat in MS University.
No,
NIT, Surat. And he is an engineer. He still remains an engineer. You will see a lot of engineering coming out. A little bit of architecture came out yesterday. Today some engineering will come out. And he heads the product design. Until recently, he was heading the product design department at SPA. And he loves working with students very closely on sustainability, on design, on innovation, on thoda hatke socho. His line is, I'm stealing his thunder. His line is thoda hatke socho. तो प्लीज थोड़ा पहले से ही हट लो और बाद में सोच लो, है ना?
या पहले सोच लो बाद में हट जाना।
हटा तो दिया आप लोगों को, थोड़ा सोच भी लो अभी। And he will be very interactive with all of you. And then there will be James, Professor James Oliver from RMIT, who will pick up a little bit from where Parag ends. Parag is going to speak on co-designing or core designing with specialists. Over to Parag. Warm welcome, Parag.
Thank you.
Warm welcome.
Hello, and yes, Vijay has said that I'm the naughty one because I think I know Vijay since 95. We were studying in IIT hostel. IIT and hostel was our main. Actually, we were studying in IIT hostel, I must say. So, we used to stay in same hostel. Vijay was always a person who is networking. Like you can see the network here, fruits of his network. And I would be the naughty one, always not adhering to what he's saying. So that's why he calls me naughty. So today I'm going to talk about co-design, essentially. But I made it look like a core designing in the sense that core, we all know about core of the earth, which is like at the center. And I take it from co-design as such, and we're talking about co-design, health co-design. And it's a big subject. Liam and James and Aditi, we are all working in the similar domain where we are talking about health. And I'm specifically talking about specialist. As far as India is concerned, today we all know what is specialist mean. Like, we don't believe in MBBS doctors anymore. Everybody, earlier, we used to have MBBS doctors, then we used to have MDs, and now we have a post-MDs. Like, even we don't believe in normal MDs anymore. Like, you have to have super speciality, right? And everywhere you go in our country, there are super specialty hospitals. Like, and people, like everyone knows about super specialty. So, my immersion in design started in 95 when I joined IIT. And since then I am doing, what I am doing is only design and nothing else. I started my design company. I started teaching design. Now I am into this, last 5 years, I am into doing co-design in health. So all these whiles, till 5 years back, I used to do design with everything. I used to design with engineers. What you rightly said, you are going to get some engineers. I used to do it with engineers. Fun with designing with engineers is interesting because engineers have only one answer to everything, and that's no. You tell them that we are going to do something different. Let's do something. They say, no. You say, we are going to change this. They say, no, because we have been taught to do it in this way, so we're not going to change it. So to change, we need designers. And that's what I do. That's what we do. We come designers. These other fellows are also there. These branding guys are they're little okay to say when you say designing, they're okay. Let's do something. But consumers, they're okay. You give them, they're ready to accept because they don't know what's there. They actually don't know what's going to come. So you ask them, is this mic okay? They'll say, it's okay. Does it function? You say, no, we can make it shorter or make it invisible. There, up to you. You go and talk to engineers, and when designing with engineers, let's make this mic invisible. No, we can't do that. Fundamentals don't allow. Professors from IIT like Vijay Cherian will say, no, my physics doesn't allow me to do that, right? So that's what my experience with this. All other guys were like, all other people were like this. But then I started 5 years back. I started doing research. Long back, 2013, one of my professors asking me to do some research, but it started in 2000, just before Corona, this COVID pandemic. We started this design, co-design in project called Second Pancreas. What Liam was talking about yesterday about this project about diabetes, where pancreas is outside. Can we help if you don't have pancreas? There's a dysfunctional pancreas. Can it be augmented through the world outside? Can we be part of it? So we started this project in co-design, which is called Second Pancreas. So when we were doing the Second Pancreas project, it was about diabetes. And we all know, as far as India is concerned, we don't need to tell anything about diabetes. Everybody knows. And everybody knows nuskas of how to cure diabetes. Everybody does it. I think Vijay knows more about diabetes than anybody else because he keeps taking his blood sugar, I think, thrice a day or so, if I'm not wrong. But he has got all log of all this, his blood sugar levels. One day I was talking to Vijay and he would say that, I had one roti extra, I know what is going to be my blood sugar, right? So he's so well versed with diabetes in the sense that the level of sugar. But in diabetes, what we found out that the most important thing is a medication. And it's a sustained, like long-term medication it was required. And we were doing research. It's a co-design program. And we were doing research on diabetes medication. But the medication with diabetes is interesting because if you have a medication for a problem, let's say headache, medication is answer. It gives you a pill, your headache is better. But diabetes there is no symptom like this. Like you're not having headache, you're not having anything. So we were doing this research with medication. We are trying to design something where medication is important. So how can person who has got diabetes is able to take medication on a regular basis? Because there are another point of views that like Aditi was doing research on about diet, healthy habits, exercise. That's all fine. Mine area was only about medication because I'm an engineer, right? And can I provide some system, design a system where medication, like if somebody is taking medication, that can be taken on a regular basis properly, right? So while doing this, there was medication and patient. And it's a very common thing that medication is always given to patients, like patients are supposed to do it. And it's a patient's responsibility to take medication. If I have to take a pill, I take a pill every night. If you know, last 4 years back, Apple, as a product we all have, phone introduced something called a medication management app. You had to log your medication if you have taken it or not. So that was my starting premises of talking about patients. And while doing co-design, yesterday Liam had given us 4 prompts. How does it happen in social context? How does it happen in an individual level? So I was looking at patients and I was trying to figure out how are their habits, how do they take it, what are their challenges. But while doing all this thing, I was not satisfied how to do it. So I said that as a co-design, we try to find out insights from patients or from stakeholders. So I found out a new stakeholder, and my stakeholder here was specialist. I said that would it be good to talk to specialists and ask about their insights? So what I came to know was a very interesting thing. So I was doing this research where I went to the specialist who was a diabetes specialist and said, what are your challenges? Nobody talks to a specialist because I'm doing medication, I'm doing it for my last user is my patient at the end of the day. But nobody eventually went to a specialist doctor and said that, is there a problem with medication of your diabetes patients? So we figured out very interestingly. In Australia, because this research was based in Australia, diabetes specialist meets their patient once in 6 months. So the appointment is always for 6 months. And we all know very interesting thing which is called HbA1c, which we say that it is after every 3 months. It gives you a value after 3 months. So that means that when specialist meets his patient, it is after 2 HbA1c cycles. So, and when we're talking to specialists, we figured out that specialists have more insight because one patient gives you 1 or 2 insights. Specialist has met so many patients in 6 months. On an average, if I calculate theoretically, if doctor meets 10 patients in a day, 200 patients in 1 week, 1 month, 20 working days if you calculate. So nearly 1200 patients doctor meets. So within 6 months, doctor had 1200 maybe minimum 1200 insights of different patients. So I picked up that area of co-design. I said that this is time for me to work with specialists and not with, because at the end of the day, I need insights. And to get those insights, it's very important to know patient's insight. But there's a possibility I can get it from the patient themselves, or from doctor. So doctor gave me so many insights. And the doctor was very interesting. And when we were designing as a co-design exercise, when we were designing, because doctor meets his patient after 6 months. So he had only one problem. And his problem was, I tell my patients to take medicines. When I give them medicine, I expect the result of medicine to be like this. But after 6 months, when they come to me, the results are entirely different. If, let's say, he has asked them to take medication for 6 months, for example, 10 mg of medicine for 6 months, the HbA1c level or a sugar level for this, when the patient comes after 6 months, would be this. But he fails because when patient comes in, the levels of sugar and HbA1c is entirely different. And then he says, why it's happening? Because patients are not taking medication properly. They are not taking medicines properly. But when they come to him, they don't remember whether they took it or not. And they keep answering, oh, yeah, possibly. Yeah, would have taken. Another interesting thing, when Aditi was interacting with doctor said that I keep telling them that don't eat in the evening. After 6:30, don't eat. So they say, we don't eat. Then your sugar is so high. No, watching television, we have one big glass of milkshake. So amazing. So you're not eating, but so doctor, like the specialist, was helpless, and specialist needed some intervention, not the patient. The intention is the patient, but the specialist was frustrated because of this problem. So this was the co-design which we did with specialists, and I came up with a interesting design intervention, which I'm not going to show you what the intervention essentially was, but the outcome of the intervention was something like this. So this was my when we talked about the medication which the patient has to take every 6 months. So possibly this is just a indicative chart. Let's say the patient has to take this number of medication every day whenever it's required. So I said that my system would log in when the patient takes medications and when doesn't. he or she doesn't take it. So this red things are where the medication is not taken. So the co-design exercise here was to create a medication administrator or a medication device. When patient or a person with diabetes picks up the medication, it gets logged in the system using a app. Now it gets registered in the app. Whenever the patient has not taken medication, it gets logged in. Now the doctor, when it comes to the doctor is not interested in the rest of the area. Because if you are taken medication, doctor is very happy. But if the patient has not taken medication, doctor wants to know when you didn't take the medication. Maybe in the evening, maybe every Sunday you are partying, or Friday there was a big party, you forgot to take medication. So doctor was possibly interested in all the red zones which were of interest to the doctor. So then I created the pattern. They said, let's remove those things because we don't need those. We need what we do, what doctor needs, what specialist needs. So then this becomes a final, so doctor gets to know. Doctor only gets to know that all Saturday, Sundays you possibly don't take, all this Mondays, Wednesdays you don't take. So there must be some problem on these dates. And then the doctor can figure, the specialist can figure out that what is the pattern for last 6 months and why my results are not as I expected. So this was a whole exercise of designing with doctor, co-designing with specialist. And there is a lot of, because doctors have, but when we were looking at, when I was reflecting back on the system, and so whenever I go to specialist or doctor, I keep looking at their implements, how they are designing themselves. So I went to this dentist for my root canal, and as engineer, as inquisitive, as naughty, Vijay rightly said, I keep looking at implements. Oh, and I keep asking some stupid questions to doctors, to dentist, why you did this, why you did that. So there were, this implements. So they put on some stickers, they had put on some polythenes. India has a fascination about polythenes. Right? If you look at this television, it has a polythene on it. There's a cover on it. So we don't remove polythenes. So like I've seen doctors also doing that, there was a lot of polythenes on this, on her implements. And I said, why do you do this? Right? She says, no, you don't understand that these designers don't design it well. They should have given implements. Okay, all right. That's a right time for designers to intervene, that they need to have a disposable polythenes or disposable things for this. So that's what, when I mean that co-design with specialists. So they need a lot of things. Liam's last slide, I think Kaushal clearly mentioned that she was very impressed with the last slide when Liam said that you all are experts. So these people are experts. The specialist is also expert. But there is no designer to help the specialists to use this specialist's expertise or the need, and that's what we designers do. So that's what I say, co-design with specialists, and that's the core of a medical. That's why I named it core design. And finally, to end, I have picked up a line from Hippocrates, and because this is talking about health. So Hippocrates said, keep a watch also on the faults of the patients, which often make them lie about taking of things prescribed. And that was my premises when I started my co-design with specialists, that when specialists told me that they don't tell me whether they have taken medicine on right time or not, or they have had big smoothie or shake, they don't tell me. So that's what they lie about. So that's what I say, and thank you so much for that patient listening. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer. Thanks.
I don't have this question. I just want to know how this device or technology will work. Actually, we have one project. We are working with Sanofi for type 1 disease.
Type 1, okay.
Yeah, sir. So around the whole country, east, west, north, zone, every zone we are working. But the core thing we are also facing whenever donor asks tell me the number of the people who are timely taking the medicines. So somewhere we are facing some issue and we are trying to take a follow-up and referrals and many more things. But somewhere a lot of patterns, M&E system everywhere, but we will find some glitch to handle this. So suppose if we want to adopt such, just like co-designing is making these things, so how NGO sector, particularly working on the priorities, we can adopt it, and the cost is also matter.
Yeah, interesting question, and thank you for that question, because that gives me a lot of confidence that the device will really work. So I cannot tell you what device is because it is at the intellectual property thing. So that's why I didn't show it what the design essentially is. But it's a device, essentially. I can tell you the idea which logs in medicine. Like it first divides the medicine in the regime, the way one has to take it, and then it divides it and makes it in a compartment. And when the moment the medicine has been taken, it eventually gives you a reminder. First principle is to give a reminder to the patient that the medicine has to be taken, and it gives a threshold time of 15 minutes to take medication. If you don't take medication within that time, it gives you 15 more minutes. And if you don't take it after 15 minutes, then it triggers the system and says, all right, you have not taken the medication now. And so it gives you alarm. The system doesn't want to log in first. It wants to activate patient to take medication on time. First thing about the system is. But when it's not taken after multiple alarms and multiple notifications, then it says that, all right, you have not taken it. So then it logs. So that's the system. But we are just in a patent stage of it. So we are not even showcased it. So that's it. Thank you. हाँ जी. अच्छा सॉरी, मैं आपको पूरा समझा सकता हूँ. हाँ.
ये जो डिवाइस की उसकी बात कर रहे हैं, अगर पेशेंट ने दवाई उसमें से निकाली और मेज पे रखी, खाई है.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. तो इसमें मैंने क्यों, अब ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है, मैं आपको इसका जवाब देना चाहता हूँ, बिकॉज ये ना मैं इसके लिए बहुत बहुत ज्यादा इसके लिए क्या कहते हैं, माथापच्ची कर चुका हूँ. क्यों, क्या है कि जब मैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया गया ना, तो मैंने एक चीज, मेरे एक सुपरवाइजर ने एक चीज बताई, और वो बोला कि यहाँ पे लोग ना झूठ नहीं बोलते. ठीक है. और मेरे को बोला मेरे सुपरवाइजर ने, प्रोफेसर सौमित्री करके, हमारे यहीं आईआईटी में, मेरे यहाँ पे भी वही थे जब मैं आईआईटी ज्वाइन किया था, वो आए, लियाम और इनके साथ रहते. तो उन्होंने मेरे को आते बराबर पहले बात बोला कि तुम यहाँ पे पीएचडी करोगे, तुम यहाँ रिसर्च करोगे, बस एक चीज मत करना, झूठ मत बोलना. तो वो सवाल ही नहीं पैदा हुआ. अब हम इंडिया में ना हर चीज में झूठ बोलते हैं. वो हम कहते हैं कि तुम लॉ बनाओ, हम तोड़ देंगे. तो ये एक लॉ है कि आपको मेडिसिन लेना है, वो आपके भले के लिए है. अब आपने उठा के कचरे में डाल दी, टेबल पे रख दी, वो आपका प्रॉब्लम है. सो मैंने वो लिख दिया था उसमें कि मैं उनके लिए बना ही नहीं रहा हूं ना. उनको चाहिए मर जाओ यार, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. मेरा स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड ये है, तुम्हें चाहिए ही नहीं ना, तुम लेना नहीं चाहते हो तो क्यों ले रहे हो, मत आओ मेरे इस पे. तो मैंने ये कहा कि एक भी बंदा समझो लेने को तैयार है, तो मेरा ये हो गया कि मैं एक को भी सुधार सका तो काफी कर लिया. मैं पूरी दुनिया नहीं सुधारूंगा. सो मैंने पहले उनके उस पे से मैंने ये कर लिया था, तो मैंने वो लिया ही नहीं. और मुझे बड़ा दुख है इस चीज का बोलते हुए कि हम अभी, मेरे स्टूडेंट्स भी ना नहीं भी करेंगे, कुछ भी फट्टा मार के आ जाएंगे. हमारे साथ ये डिजाइन हम करते हैं, नहीं सर मैंने तो ऐसा सोचा ही था. तो हम बोलते कि तुम बात मत करो, किया हो तो दिखा दो. फिर दिखा नहीं पाते. तो हमारे साथ बहुत बड़ी ये समस्या होती रहती है. तो मैं बहुत जूझता हूं इसके साथ. आई थिंक Aditi, you'll have to translate it to. You must tell them. नहीं, बट वो बड़ा ये था, मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ा शौक था जब मैं पहली बार जब यहाँ गया, और मेरे को जब उन्होंने बोला कि देखो और फिर मैंने सोचा कि क्या मैं भी झूठ बोलता हूँ, तो मैंने सोचा हाँ हम तो हर चीज.
On that note, I thank Parag. There's a very ancient Sanskrit shloka which says Satyam bruyat priyam bruyat.
क्या मेरे को समझ नहीं समझ.
मैं ट्रांसलेट भी कर रहा हूँ. सत्य बोलो और प्रिय चीज बोलो. ऋतिक प्रिया बैठी है यहाँ पे. सत्यम ब्रूयात प्रियम ब्रूयात न ब्रूयात सत्यम अप्रियम. जो सत्य अप्रिय है वो मत बोलो.
बट वो प्रॉब्लम.
प्रियम अप्रिच अनृतम न ब्रूयात ये सब धर्म सनातन. So we should read a little bit because we are talking about health co-design. So we should understand what is truth which is spoken, what is truth which is not spoken, what is truth that is pleasant, what is truth that is unpleasant, and what is silence.